trying to be productive from a masculine mindset when you're a woman is equivalent to trying to swim against a current. Instead, if you wanted to be productive and have an easier time doing it and just enjoy yourself more, learn how to be productive from a feminine mindset. And pretty much no one knows about this, and no one thinks about the differentiation between the two. They just assume productivity means one thing, getting things done, but there are a million different ways to do it. And a lot of women nowadays, because they just don't know the difference, they adopt a masculine mindset when it comes to productivity. So they do the grind all day and night culture, like cut sleep, value work above everything else, and then they end up really burnt out. And beyond that, it's like the work that they produce sometimes just feels less resonant with their audience, especially in creative work. And it also just feels like they're not enjoying themselves. And I went down this path for a really long time, and I was trying to brute force productivity. But when you do it with feminine energy, it's like what you create not only resonates with people more, but you also enjoy yourself while you're getting things done, and it feels like you're naturally recharging your batteries, so you don't feel burnt out and you can just keep going. And so people often assume, like for women, I assume I should have a masculine mindset with productivity because that means I'll get things done, because I'll be grinding through everything. But actually, as I said, it ends up causing us to get less done because we're not really meant to think that way, and we're not meant to operate in a way where we're constantly grinding it out. I said this in my previous podcast episode about feminine energy. Men have a 24-hour hormonal cycle. Women have a 28-day hormonal cycle. So our energy really fluctuates a lot more than the energy of a man. So trying to grind through it all day, every day, it's just not like our bodies just don't respond well to that. So if you want to be productive and stay productive like all month long while enjoying yourself, you have to learn how to do things like from a feminine mindset, and then you won't feel miserable trying to get things done, and you'll be more creative, happy, and inspired. So I thought it was important to squash the myth that being productive is inherent to masculinity, because, well, the mindset of grinding through, like, let's say studying, can actually be helpful, and sometimes you feel like you need to do it. Maybe you've procrastinated. You do need that mental, like the masculine mindset to get through like a night of cramming for a test. That can be good. I'm not saying you completely need to abandon that, but for most scenarios, it is beneficial to approach them with a feminine mindset, and you'll find like it unlocks an incredible amount of power. So the issue with this is that like when we approach things from a masculine mindset, I'm going to illustrate to you like what that means and also what a feminine mindset means so that you understand the difference and why one is way better for us. So the difference between masculine productivity and feminine productivity is masculine equals a very specific outcome. You are looking for specific results. So like you want one specific outcome when you're doing a project or something else, and you aren't really open to anything else happening. It's like, let's say, you know what, let's talk about jobs. Maybe you're applying for a job. From a masculine mindset, you set your heart on one goal, like one dream company, and you just grind until you get there. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with this, but I will say for us, there is a different path and an easier path than this obsession with specific outcome. So masculine productivity means you will absolutely like pull teeth to get a desired result if you need to. Like you will do anything to get to whatever specific goal it is that you've set for yourself. Now, feminine productivity means you're flowing with the outcome. You're okay with the outcome changing. Like you have a general idea of where you want your life to go and what you want to happen when you're working on a project. But you're open to things changing. Like you're just kind of flowing with whatever you create in that moment. And you create and you get things done with the trust that the outcome that happens will be the right one. So, you would think this only applies to creative work, but even with more defined things, like you're working on an assignment or you're studying for a test, yes, you put in the work and you do your best to do it, but also you understand, like, whatever happens, like, you're okay with whatever happens. Like, you're not banking all of your happiness and worth on, like, a single thing happening. And you also trust, a big part of this is trusting that, like, let's say if you're studying for a test, yes, you do what you can to, I'll talk about this later, like, romanticize the experience of studying and have fun, like, while you're doing it and you get your studying done, but you also don't, like, pull your hair out thinking about getting a bad grade on the test. Like, you trust that on test day, like, your gut will lead you to the right answers. So it's a very different mindset. And so the key word for feminine productivity is effortless. It just flows. It's natural. So I'm going to talk about how you can be feminine while still being productive and vice versa, because I used to, like, take this masculine approach to productivity that left me feeling drained, but you can completely be, like, one of the most productive people in your social circle while still being, like, feminine. You don't have to sacrifice one to get the other. And I think this is something that probably keeps a lot of women from becoming, like, very productive and empowered. At least with feminine women, sometimes it feels like they kind of live under this misconception that you have to be just, like, sitting around waiting to be, like, saved by a man maybe, or, like, kind of you just have to be docile in order to be appreciated and loved by a man. But that's not really what feminine energy is. Feminine energy is actually very powerful. And on the flip side of things, there are, like, hyper, like, career-focused independent women who don't realize that, like, they can still get the results they want while tapping into feminine energy. Because there are a lot of very masculine women nowadays who, like, yes, they feel the need to get stuff done, like, to pay the bills, to have a high-paying job, but they think that masculine energy is the only way to do it. And so then, as a result, like, they do drive away masculine men, and then they feel lonely because they just can't, like, there's no one romantically that is really interested in them because of their hyper-masculine energy. And so, like, both sides, both the overly feminine women and then, like, the overly masculine women, it's like they have to understand, like, that they can have both productivity and femininity. So I think that this is really important for, like, a lot of women. So the number one tip I have, well, not the number one, like, the first tip I have for being feminine and productive is approaching productivity from a feminine mindset is doing things because you want to, not because you have a set output that you're trying to reach. This is a big differentiator between feminine and masculine productivity, and I'm going to talk about this through the lens of content creation just because that's the experience I have with this. So back when I first started making videos, like on TikTok and Instagram, I had this mindset where I saw, like, a lot of popular creators were saying, oh, you have to make 3 videos a day. And so I would sit down, I would record video after video, like every morning before school, I would record at least 3 videos. And then throughout the day, I would, like, even though I was busy, I would, like, hassle myself to edit them and publish them. And it was like I was churning them out, and I was also focusing so heavily on the outcome of the videos. So I was just, like, posting all the time and, like, hoping and praying, like, I hope this one goes viral. Like, I really want this to get a lot of likes. It was not me creating because I genuinely wanted to. I mean, at first it was, but then I became obsessed with, like, a specific outcome, which is very masculine. I was, like, dead set on having 3 videos a day, and I wasn't really making from the heart because I was so focused on the outcome. And so that is a good example of not doing things from a good, like, feminine mindset. Now, from a feminine mindset, being a content creator means you make things when you want to. Like, you make things from a place of love and you do it with passion. So you're not trying to like control or manipulate the result of what you create. You're just creating because you like creation. And actually, you'll find that when you do this, you will be more motivated to create because it'll be an enjoyable process. Creation and getting things done are not enjoyable when instead of enjoying the process, you're focused on getting a specific result. That just makes, like, it drains all the fun out of the situation. So if you want to actually, like, stay consistent with stuff, do it because you want to. Like, and if there's something you're trying really hard to force that you just don't want to do ever, and you feel like you have to, like, set a certain amount of minutes or, like, videos per day to get something done, then also I would encourage you to consider whether it's really true to you or not, because that is also a big thing. Like, you know, sometimes with something that's not really meant for you, like hobby or career-wise, if you try to keep forcing it and you just really never want to do it no matter what the circumstances are, and this isn't like talking about working out, because there's some things that just like are like good for you, like undeniably good for you. But if it's something like maybe a certain job, or you're trying hard to get into a certain college and you can't motivate yourself to take the right steps, it might just not be for you. And so you have to think about that. But also, I would like to say, even if you don't want to do something, if you have to do it, like studying for a test at school because you want to graduate and, you know, like get a good job one day, you can still approach productivity with feminine energy by using this trick I call romanticizing the experience. And this is one of the biggest tips in this episode. Romanticize the process, because this allows you to approach any activity, even ones that are like inherently masculine, like even doing like a mud run, for example. Like you could 100% do it with feminine energy based on how you approach it and like how you build up the experience in your head. And that makes the difference between enjoying it and not enjoying it. So like this is where the brunt of the advice in this episode comes from. How can you enjoy the process? If you're studying, you don't want to study, you're tired, how can you make it cozy? Making things cozy is one of my top tips for being productive and feminine. Like, you can totally have the most cozy and memorable experience by like getting a blanket, getting yourself a hot cup of tea. Like, make it fun, make it cozy, like put on some good music. This is how you romanticize the process. You know, if you're studying, like imagine yourself as one of your favorite TV characters, like maybe Rory. A lot of people seem to love her. She was good before she went to Yale. That's all I'll say. I don't really like her after that, but she was like really sweet and like really inspirational before she went off to college. But anyway, like this is why this advice is only applicable to females, because if I told a male, like if I told one of my guy friends, I was like, you should imagine like you're just a TV character or like a movie character, like they would probably laugh. Like this advice is just obviously like very effective for females and usually females only, which is why it's so important to have the differentiation between feminine and masculine productivity. But okay, so here's the next big tip, and this is where most of the advice in the podcast episode comes from. Here's how you apply all of this for huge breakthroughs in motivation, inspiration, creativity, and the enjoyment of life while being productive. First tip, well, beyond romanticizing life, this is kind of how you help yourself romanticize the experience. Make routines for everything. This is huge. This is literally how you make your life like cozy and enjoyable while still getting things done. Have a set routine. It makes us feel like really good and like on top of life when we have a routine that we follow through on every day. It just gives us some sense of order that we really enjoy. So like a morning routine with cozy tea and a bathrobe in the winter so you can be warm and cozy while still like getting up and out of bed, because I know that like in the winter, for me, sometimes it's really hard to get up because it's just so cold. You don't want to get out of bed, but having like a cozy routine helps me a lot with that. And then movement in the morning that makes you feel like beautiful and energized. That's really big. Also, a lunch routine with foods that are energizing, and an after school/work routine to recharge with maybe a nap, a cup of tea, a brief reading break, and also a cozy nighttime routine that helps you get to bed early, with candlelight, books, journaling, like a bunch of cozy things that help you wind down. And I will say, candlelight is like one of my favorite feminine additions to my productive nighttime routine, because I feel like artificial lighting, I don't know why, this is actually gonna sound ridiculous. Like, I feel like it's just masculine to have like artificial lighting like before you're trying to go to bed. It just makes me feel really cozy and feminine to like light up my room with like a candle instead when I'm reading before bed. And like when I take a nighttime shower, you would think I was crazy, like, because you would see like the lights off in the bathroom, but like I just use a candle for lighting, and honestly I like it a lot more that way. Like, it really helps me like get tired and get ready for bed. So the next tip I have for romanticizing the experience is take breaks when needed. Like, it's as simple as that. It's a lot easier to have fun doing like a long day of work if you take breaks when you need to. I think it's very masculine, like just the desire to like grind through 12 hours of work straight. They have lots of testosterone, so it's like it's easier for men to get away with that. But like, especially when our hormones are fluctuating, it's not always easy for us to do that. So like, it's unrealistic to expect ourselves to always be able to do like 12 hours straight of work with no breaks. So having breaks can help us really enjoy the process a lot more. And I like the Pomodoro method for this, which is where you work for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break, because it gives you built-in breaks that you can use to recharge, like by reading or taking walks. And as we go through our to-do list, this recharges our energy and inspiration, especially when you put your phone away during the 5-minute breaks and actually do something like read, go outside, work on a hobby. Like maybe you could play the piano, or another instrument, you could paint, you could sketch, like just do something that like actually recharges you. And the next tip number 4, is make every experience beautiful. So use music when you're studying or doing some other task like laundry or something else, or audiobooks. Audiobooks also really help you romanticize the process. So if I'm studying, like, that in itself is not inherently like the most like fun and enriching experience, but like I actually love learning and I love studying when I make it like a cozy experience. I think the only thing about studying that doesn't appeal to me is if I do it from like a masculine mindset and then I just study like, in a cold room with like no colored highlighters or anything like that, no music on, like that's not very fun to me. But if I study and I actually set up with like a cup of tea, a blanket, all my colorful highlighters, then it's like actually enjoyable to me. Like I have no issue with studying for a while. So believe it or not, with my luck, I was editing this episode and the audio for the last 10 minutes, something happened and it is like completely destroyed. So here I am re-recording the last 10 minutes because I feel like it's important to include all of the tips I was going to give you guys. So as I was saying, it's important to make every experience beautiful. So use music when you're studying. Personally, I love the album Midnight in Paris. It's like this very just cozy, like French album of instrumental music. I love instrumental music when I'm studying. It makes me feel cozy and it makes me enjoy the experience of studying. And I also love traditional Japanese music. And next tip, feminine productivity. This is like a new section, by the way, because the first section is romanticizing the experience. Second section for feminine productivity is all about intuition. Feminine productivity has everything to do with intuition. So when you're figuring out like what to create, like what to write or what video to make, or also what to do on your to-do list first, your intuition will give you all the right answers you need, And this is what I mean when I say that like feminine productivity is like going down the stream instead of swimming up the current. Everything comes naturally. So, tip number 1 for this section is listen to your inner voice. Women are naturally very good at being in tune with their emotions, and so our emotions are wonderful at guiding us towards the right decisions. You know, for men, logic is more so how they can best make decisions, but for us, emotion is a definite power because usually we have gut feelings that guide us in the right direction. Like, throughout history, women have always been very in tune with their gut, and that's usually why we can make decisions that are bold and creative. So, when you listen to your inner voice, it usually will lead you to make decisions that are out of the box, and there may not be a good logical explanation behind them. Like, for example, like, let's say you're even walking down a street at night and someone who looks like not that harmful is walking behind you and you get an uneasy feeling. That's an example. It's like there's no logical proof that the person walking behind you is dangerous, but if you have a gut feeling, you should run. So that's an example. Like we have a good gut instinct about things. So if your gut tells you to do something bold, you should usually follow it, because when you do everything the way that everyone else does it, you're just like completely blocking up the creative energy that you have. And your like feminine energy and your gut instincts can be used to create such big breakthroughs in your life, but you're holding yourself back if you just like stick to this cookie cutter way of life and productivity. So experiment with what helps you get your work done when it comes to productivity. Like, I used to follow this popular method called the Eat the Frog method, where you do your hard work first and then you do your easy work last. And everyone says that that's the best way to do it because you have more willpower at the beginning of the day. But I found I would get behind on my work if I started with the biggest task first, because then I would take longer than I was supposed to on something, and then I'd feel behind the whole day. What I do now is I usually start with something easy, like a quick win that I can do, because then I usually do it faster than I think I will, and then I feel like I'm ahead of my game the whole day. And so that's what works for me, and so you should do what works for you. The next tip I have, and the last one, is when all else fails, go to God for guidance. God communicates to us through our gut. And if all else fails, heartfelt prayers almost always reveal the right answer in anything. So if you ever need creative direction or help figuring out how to solve a problem you have on your to-do list, we so rarely think of doing this, but why not ask God for advice on everything? Like, it doesn't have to be something big. Like, we think that we have to only pray when something huge is happening, but I've made a good habit of having like a dialogue with God at all times throughout the day. So like the moment something starts to stress me out or I'm really not sure of what to do, especially when it comes to other people or creative decisions, I start a dialogue with God, and then the answers usually come through pretty quickly. So in summary, you can be both productive and feminine, and in fact more productive than you would be had you stuck to masculine energy if you keep these two concepts in mind. One, romanticize every experience and like love what you do and do things because you want to do them. And if you don't want to do them, either consider maybe you're not meant to do them, or if you have to do it, like studying for a test, then make it a fun experience. And then 2, listen to your intuition, because your intuition has all of the answers. And if you do this, then productivity will feel effortless and fun. Every item on your to-do list will be an opportunity for a beautiful memory, and your work will become more resonant with other people. You'll move through life making the right decisions. It's like, you know, with masculine energy, it's like you have to knock at every door to see which one is the right one. But with this feminine energy and this living based on, you know, love and intuition, you know which door to go to from the get-go. And that is really powerful. So if you do these things, I'm confident that you are going to have the best experience with productivity. And so I hope you love this episode. I think I'm going to make a lot more stuff on like feminine energy because people seem to love it, and I actually love it so much too. So let me know if you have any specific topics like this that you want more episodes on. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast and being so supportive. And I'll see you all in the next week's episode.